Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Ay, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Ay, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly source of all things Seattle Kraken and beyond. I am Matt.
I'm Heather.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Alex.
And this is episode 13 of the BTW pod. We'd like to welcome in all our new friends. Huge thanks to everyone who has joined us so far, dropped a follow, or left a review on the podcast app of your choice. We have a loaded yet grim show this week loaded up for you with Kraken news, game recaps, a check-in with Coachella Valley, and a discussion around the sound table. Heather, as always, do you want to kick us off with our news breakdown?
I do. So first have some good news, which hopefully there's more to come, but I don't think so. But injury updates. Joey Daccord is off the injured reserve list, so that's good, especially since he's had to come into games unexpectedly recently, but he was activated off that list January 7th. So yay to having Joey back. Really glad for that. Cal Fleury was named to the 2025 AHL All-Star Game, which is really fun. And that All-Star weekend for the AHL actually takes place in Coachella Valley. It's February 2nd through 3rd, so they are hosting, which is also fun. In some roster moves, Cal Fleury, Alex Steska, and Ben Myers were all sent back down to Coachella. They were up when we had a flurry of injuries. Mitchell Stevens and John Hayden were called up from Coachella. And just a reminder that Gustav Olofsson is still up from Coachella. He's our extra defenseman on this long road trip that they're on. Daniel Sprong was put on waivers January 8th, and he cleared waivers on the 9th and has been reassigned to Coachella. He has had a couple great games so far with Coachella, but after his first game, he had this interview, and I know we're going to talk about this because I am not a super big fan of his interview afterwards. He basically said, I want to prove that I don't belong here. Said he was, quote unquote, too many steps ahead early in the game and had to, quote unquote, slow it down mentally and get on that speed. So my thing is, and I say this a lot, there is nothing wrong with playing in the AHL. Like, there are so many players who would love to be in his spot right now. In fact, there are Firebirds being sat so that he can play. So I don't like an ungrateful player. And I also think, he's probably super bitter at this move because he was just traded and then he was put on waivers and now he's sent down to the AHL. And I totally understand that. But, there are players who develop and go play in the NHL from the AHL. That's super cool. But there's also players who are pros in the AHL, and that's also super cool. So I get that he's bitter and salty to be reassigned. But for me, just keep it to yourself, bro. I'm not a fan of the attitude. I just think, if he belongs there or not, prove it, because there's a reason he's kind of being bounced around from team to team, So maybe it's his attitude. If that's his attitude in the locker room and around the press, then maybe there's some bigger issue there. And I can't say for sure that that's what it is, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, when it comes to Daniel Sprong, one of the biggest things that you need to highlight is that he has been bounced around from team to team, like left, right, and center over the last couple of years. And, there is that one piece that you wonder, okay, he's a fringe player because normally he plays third and fourth line minutes. So, he's fighting to stay in the lineup, but perhaps it's also, it could be a personality or way that he, acts around the dressing room and this entitlement. Don't know it. Can't get, this is all, just guessing at this point. When he got sent down from Seattle to Coachella originally, I think a couple people were a little shocked. At first, I thought something was going to happen trade-wise because I didn't really see it coming. And then he was left unclaimed, and that was surprising to me. So there's a reason why you're in Coachella now. So the way I've always said it is that if you're an NHL player or you believe you're an NHL player, shut up, let your game prove that you can play in the NHL. We've seen Sprong play in the NHL, but clearly something's not working. So I think if I'm Sprong at this moment, just shut up and just play hockey. Because if the Kraken are in need of a forward, which they are, because apparently nobody can score on the odd occasion, he can get called up and he can play, or he can sit in the press box because that's what he's also been doing. Or perhaps maybe another team in the NHL, perhaps a team that he hasn't played for, collecting those cards like Pokemon cards, but could see him and be like, we like this guy. We want to give him a chance. So when I look at Sprong right now, sit down, shut up, play your game in the AHL.
I remember when he first came down, however many months ago that was, Sound of Hockey had an interview with him, and they addressed these locker room concerns that he's had that's kind of been attached to him. And he made some sort of remark along the lines of like, I don't think that's a thing. It really hurts to hear those kinds of things, but when stuff like this starts happening, I think it maybe lends a little validity to it, perhaps, that there might be something lurking there. And I think, like we've already mentioned here, when you have that 24-hour window or whatever, when someone can pick you up and no one's really chomping at the bit to come and get you, that kind of says something as well. And maybe it's my limited financial brain, but I can't imagine being just shy of making seven figures a year and being upset that you're not where you want to be. Because would you rather make 975K actually playing or crushing nachos in the press box? I know what I would rather do. Almost $1 million to eat nachos sounds pretty dope, but if I'm wanting to be an all-star athlete, I want to play and prove myself wherever I might be able to get that chance.
I disagree with all three of you in principle, but I think that there are parts of everything that you guys said that I agree with, and definitely principles that I agree with. So I agree that Sprong is not like a super great player. He's not a player that necessarily justifies himself having an everyday role with the team. He is a player that does need to show that he is a player that justifies that spot, and like Matt said, being paid seven figures a year, et cetera, which he clearly wants, obviously. The way I look at Sprong here, he's 27 years old, and his value's been declining because of the lack of his defensive game. And that has been just like pointed out, and every team that he's been with has now just seen it. They've predicted it, and it's come true over and over and over again. And he's been very stubborn about that, about developing his defensive game at all. The problem is his offense is not good enough to justify on its own. So he should, in all honesty, probably try to develop his game and become a more well-rounded player if he does not want to be in the AHL, which he clearly does not. So, yeah, I don't think he's a player that really justifies paying more than $2 million a year in this current NHL league. But I will say he is offensively better than probably almost any AHL player. So that is something that is going to sting him when he's down there. His prime window, it's closing because he is like late 20s, and he's desperate to find a team, like Alex was saying, that allows him to slot in a way where his defensive game isn't such a liability and isn't something that he gets exposed on. He's able to go to work offensively. Time is running out, in my opinion, and I think he finds himself next to a bunch of undeveloped prospects, and then also players like Heather was mentioning, like the AHL pros, which he obviously does not associate himself with. I think Sprung really has two options here in terms of like a post-game interview. I think he can roll over and eat his vegetables and say like, "Oh, I understand the move. I've not been very good, and I will get better." Or what he said, which is, "I want to go out there and prove to the league and everyone who's paying attention that it is insane that I am in the AHL right now. I'm an NHL level player." I personally respect it. I love the fire. I love the fight it shows. But unfortunately, it is coming from a player who isn't that great. He likely falls between the elite level of the NHL and the more amateur level of the AHL. That gap is very massive, and I think it shows when you have a guy like Sprong who's unable to find ice time, unable to score at the NHL level, and then just scores at will in the AHL. I think that's very apparent. And I think we ought to move on from Sprong at this point, but only because he isn't a good player. If this was Matty Beniers, like being sent down to the AHL and saying this, or Ty Cartier saying the exact same things, I think we would all be smitten by their remarks and really mad at Ron Francis. Because it's Sprung and he's bad, I think the standards are a little different. But I like the fight, the juice, the tension, and the stating candidly how you feel. I would much rather a player say, "I want to prove I don't belong here and this is a mistake," than, "Oh yeah, I just need to get pucks deep, blah blah blah, and work on my game, blah blah blah." I think that's just boring, and it's what we hear every single day. So I'm for this kind of stuff. That's all I had to say on that.
I actually agree with you completely about the candidness, but what I don't like is how he said it, because he threw the AHL under the bus by saying I had to slow down my game to play with them. That I don't like. If he had gone down and said, "Hey, I'm here. I'm going to prove myself. I'm going to prove that I don't belong here." That's different than what he said. The way he said it was not It was not good. It was really disrespectful in my opinion. Of course, like I'm with you. I want the candidness. I want the honesty. And Maddie Beniers, Ty Cartier, etc. They would come down. They'd probably say something like that, but they wouldn't say it in a way that also threw the AHLers under the bus. Like that's the part I don't like. I agree with you completely. He can go down there and say, "I don't belong here, and I want to prove that." Great, but
I
don't
definitely
then
see that
don't
side.
yeah,
Yeah,
but then
when I
don't
was listening to it,
say
it did seem like really cocky when he was talking about like the
yes.
step.
That's
He's
my
like, "Oh,
problem.
I had to slow down to like 2 miles an hour for these slow
That's
guys
it.
to like catch up." Yeah, I agree with you
That's
there.
my
But
problem.
the
I don't mind the candidness. I mind how he said it and the way he said it.
but the other thing that I also want to bring up when it comes to Daniel Sprong is that he's talking about, I need to slow down my game because I'm way better than these players. Buddy, you're trying to crack the Seattle Kraken roster. Have you seen where we are in the standings? Like, no offense, bud. If you had any talent or could crack the roster, you'd be playing on the first, what line. So that I just rest my case on that. Like, he's been talking all this smack, being like, I deserve a shot, I deserve a shot. You know what? You're not trying out for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You're not trying for the Edmonton Oilers. Heck, you're not trying out for the Washington Capitals playing Alexander Ovechkin's line. You're trying to crack a team that shows up one night and then disappears for like 6.5 years. So,
No, that's a very good point. I mean, we're bringing up Mitchell Stevens or John Hayden, like all these guys all the
exactly.
time. Sprong
Exactly.
has a ton of chances here. That's definitely right. And
Exactly.
like
The
I said,
fact
I
that
agree.
Dan's
He's not.
playing
Yeah.
the other guys over Sprong tells you
hmm
what you need to know, right?
100%. I definitely think he's in a middle ground where he is better than most AHL players, but just not good enough to cut it in the NHL.
Yep.
And obviously, everyone on the Firebirds isn't good enough, like by definition, to crack
Mhm.
the Seattle Kraken roster. So
Right.
I would also say that.
I
Yeah.
think if you were to
Agreed.
ask Disco Dan what he thinks of Daniel Sprong, he would just go, he's
He's
Dutch.
Dutch.
And that's that. Oh, we almost got a spit take from Derek. Just about showered the
Almost.
screen.
That's all Dan knows.
That's all Dan knows.
But like he's only played 10 games this season for the Kraken. And everyone's like, well, how many games has he played? And we're like, I had to look it up. It was like, yeah, he's played 10 games. Like he hasn't really been,
No, he's not.
offensive.
He does not make a statement out there when he
No, he
plays. I
doesn't. But
definitely think we
like,
should move on from him.
yeah, but how
Yep.
many players actually on
Agreed.
the Kraken make a statement right now?
Well, that's true too. That's a whole
That's
other topic,
that's
though.
why I think he. That's why I personally think he would benefit from. I think he's trying to get out for sure. I think he's when
Hmm.
saying this. I think he's trying to get out of our
Yeah.
organization. I think he would benefit from it too. But
I think there's a few players that are trying to do that, but I think we can dissect that at a later time.
Are the future considerations we got him for that there's like a return policy that we can send him back to Vancouver?
I
honestly,
don't think
the
I
future
don't think
considerations are a better option at this point.
well, to be brutally honest, I've seen Vancouver Canuck fans say we don't want him back. So case in point.
Little feisty off the start here. Last week we pledged that we were gonna try to be more positive around these parts. And I can't wait for this overflowingly positive vibe check of how we're feeling after this week where we had 4 games and we went 1-3. Who's feeling good? Perfect. Moving on. Alex, you want to do the first game recap?
No, because I want to talk about my vibe because I'm not feeling the vibe.
Okay, let us have it.
This team sucks. Like this team is straight poo. So that's how I'm feeling right now, But like realistically, we could talk about the players as much as possible, and we could talk about the players and how like they're not showing up. We could talk about how goaltending's disappointed us, how defense has disappeared, how our offense can't get the puck in the net on the occasion. But like one of the things I really want to bring up, and I've echoed it on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, is Ron Francis. Because at the end of the day, he's built this team. He's built this team with every single player because he was given the key to the city and said, you have, you can create the Seattle Kraken. This is your roster. Well, we're in year 4. We are literally at the cap ceiling, and we are a bottom feeder team. Like we're like looking at a top 5 pick, and I'm looking at it now, and that we're going to be a seller at the deadline. And my first thought is, I do not want Ron Francis to make another trade because his DNA is written all over this team. I do not trust this man to say, I got this rebuild, because clearly showing he's not going to figure it out. We've already given him the chance. I think it's time to, cut loose, with Ron Francis and company, and we start fresh. Todd Lewicki showing up at the game in Buffalo is another statement. And them delivering an impressive win, but then showing an impressive loss today does not really instill a lot of confidence in this team, and I don't think it instills a lot of confidence in management from the ownership group. So at this point in time, I'm thinking something's got to give, because we are just shy over halfway through the season, and there's no point of us looking at playoffs, because that's a foregone conclusion that we're not going to make it. So like if the fans can see it, like you have to think that ownership is like, we need to make a change, and we need to make a change quickly, because they're going to start losing more season ticket holders. Tickets are going to start, going to become increasingly available. And quite frankly, let's be honest, I know the Mariners aren't like the be all to end all, but spring training starts in the next month and a half or so. Like, so the Kraken are going to be like a a discussion in the past. They're not going to bother with them. So if I'm ownership, I'm really looking at this being like, okay, we're in free fall. We need to fix this now, and the next piece to the puzzle is to get rid of Francis.
What was Todd Lightwicki doing there, by the way? Like, that's fascinating. And
He
also,
wanted
like,
some wings.
what did he say to them? Because they came out today looking worse. I'm like, what did he say? Like,
He said we're getting that
we're
first overall
selling you
pick.
all. Like, we're getting rid of you all. So just whatever.
He's saying all you centers better watch out because we're gonna draft a high center prospect come June.
Defense, what's that? Centers all the way. But no, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what to like.
I honestly, I have the
Yeah.
answer. Okay, here it
Oh,
is.
okay.
Oh,
See, the scope is it's being aimed at Ron Francis, but I think that's a little misguided. What we need to do, and I think what would fix our team by next year, all we got to do, fire Hackstall, okay? Fire Hackstall, and we'll be good next year. That's what everyone said last year. You guys were all wrong. It did not fix everything. It's definitely not a coaching issue. I agree with Alex.
Clearly not a coaching issue. I
Okay.
mean, a
Well,
lot of
yeah.
so much of it's a personnel issue, to be quite honest. Like, the talent they have in front of them is the talent they have in front of them, and we keep saying that, but it's just the truth,
But I also think it's an identity. Like
Hmm.
the identity of this, there's no identity to this team. Like, what are you? A high scoring team? No. Are you a tough team? No. Jamie Olesiak's like 6'12", and he like jumps when like a 5'11" player comes close to him. No physical, no high scoring, no real talent.
We're also
Um,
not like we don't win. We're not a winning
no,
team.
we're not a winning team, but like
We
we're
don't
throwing a
roll four lines anymore.
no, we just kind of
There's
like
nothing.
we throw a win in every so often, and we're so back. There's a chance again, but like none of that,
We
like
don't
none
get
of that at all.
points.
Yeah, what are points? 76 points or bust at this point.
This is the most pessimistic pod we've ever recorded. And
I
I
thought
thought we
before,
had some
like,
bad.
I want to do some research if there's like San Jose Sharks podcast just to see how they cope with having such a losing record. Maybe we can do some networking and cross promo or something.
Do a little cross therapy, maybe.
Yeah, just
We're all about the
a support
vibes.
group. All right, Alex, you want to take us through the first of our games?
You know what? I'd love to. And what the shocking thing about this is that there's actually some positivity to this game. Shocking, I know, crazy. So the first game was Game 41, halfway through the season against the New Jersey Devils in a 3-2 loss. So the Kraken overall had a great game. Unfortunately, they met the one and only Jacob Markstrom. So New Jersey took an early lead, scoring just shy of 8 minutes in the first period. However, with just under 5 minutes to play, Adam Larson ties the game at one apiece. In the final moments of the second period, the Devils take the lead heading into the third with a 2-1 lead. Shane Wright, yes, Heather's Shane Wright, ties the game on the power play, some PP magic within the first 2 minutes of the third. However, that lead did not last long, as is tradition with how the Kraken play. And the Devils took the 3-2 lead and sailed off into the sunset and won the game. Overall, like I mentioned before, the Kraken played a great game, but they faced one hell of a hot goaltender in Jacob Markstrom, and they were just Markstromed. Like he made saves that game that realistically, if he wasn't on his game, the Kraken probably would have won 5, maybe even 6-2 or 6-3. Sorry, but ultimately, like they just ran into a hot goaltender, and we just couldn't look past that. So, out of all the losses this week, this game wasn't bad. Like they actually played a good game. But yeah, just would love to hear your thoughts on this one.
I didn't get to watch a whole lot of this game. Had some other things going on, but I did catch highlights and little bits and pieces here and there. Sammy got Markstrom'd was just that's the way to say it. He had a highlight reel circus showcase of a night doing cartwheels in the crease, blocking. I think it was Matty Beniers like point blank with the knob of his stick. It was just one of those days where things didn't go our way. But leading up to that, it's nice to see Adam Larson get a goal. That's not something that comes often. So maybe next time a shootout comes around, we put Adam Larson in the shootout. Maybe. Coach Dan, you listening? Put Adam Larson in the shootout. And then, around here, we always love when Shane Wright finds himself on the score sheet. So some positives, just very unfortunate that that little knob on his stick prevented us from winning that game.
I think at this point in the season, with the way the Kraken have been playing, games like this are like winning the Stanley Cup to us. So pretty good. I like that it wasn't a horrible loss, and like they said, Markstrom was insane. Absolutely insane saves. That infuriated me, but yeah, close game. What you like to see, I guess, these days. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Jacob Markstrom was just otherworldly, basically. Like two of his best saves that he had were in the third when it was 3-2. So it was just that part was really frustrating because like we just couldn't tie it up no matter how hard we tried. I think, so Shane Wright tied it up. And then I think the response goal, because it was like 37 seconds later, right? It just completely took the wind out of their sails. And I just feel like they fell flat and just never recovered after that, unfortunately. That's sort of like their thing now. So I'm not surprised by it. But overall, like, really until then, they were fighting pretty well. And they really did put a good push on near the end. Just Markstrom was really amazing. So I'm not upset about that one. But I am going to move on to game 42 at the Columbus Blue Jackets, which was a 6-2 loss. And, I actually liked how they started this game off. Like they were buzzing. They were buzzing to start. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is great. They're moving. They're like using that momentum they had in the third period of the last game. They had 6 shots on goal before the Blue Jackets even had one. Loved it. But even with that start, the Blue Jackets scored first. It was 11:58 into the first, and Kuraly was just net front to tip the puck into the net. He beat Alexiak on the forecheck. But 10 seconds later, Shane Wright stole the puck against the boards, got it to Tolvanen, who just blasted it past Merzlikins to tie the game. So starting off okay, like feeling okay, going into intermission 1-1, like not feeling out of it yet, but the second period it went totally wrong. I don't know, just very wrong. The Kraken just fell completely apart. I just kept noticing so many men out of position. They were missing defensive assignments, like on all accounts, like just left players completely open to score. And I don't know if I've ever felt more frustrated until maybe today's game. But at that point, I think that was the most frustrated I'd ever felt watching the team. The Blue Jackets scored 4 goals in the second. Del Bel Baluz, which really cool name. Love that name. It sounds like some like music group or something, John Forsland kept saying. But he got behind Alexiak and then batted the puck out of air into the net. It would be kind of cool if it hadn't been against us. Then the Blue Jackets made it 3-1 when they put on just a masterclass clinic for beautiful passes, causing Berkey to slide over and left Werenski wide open. And then Matejchuk scored his first NHL goal. Cool for him, bad for us. And that's actually when Coach Baalsma called a timeout to try to steady things. Didn't really work, though, because the Blue Jackets quickly made it 5-1 when Johnson sniped it past Grubauer. And speaking of Grubauer, at that point, he was actually pulled from the game and Joey came in. So again, just going back to Joey being off IR, that's really great because otherwise that would have been Stezka. And no offense to him, I don't know that he would have been ready to come in at that point. So kind of glad that this worked out that way. I feel like this was actually more of a message to the whole team to try to kind of switch momentum because not all of those were on Gru. Also just merciful to kind of let Gru out of this particular one. Defense and the entire team just really letting him down, hanging him out to dry, no goal support. No surprise, though. At 8:44 into the third, Eeli Tolvanen scored his second goal of the game. Just another beautiful pass by Chandler Stevenson to get the puck to him. And then Tolvi just took another amazing shot. So that was 5-2. And then with about 30 seconds left in the game, Marchenko capitalized on the empty net to make the final score 6-2. In the positive category, Mahura actually like somersaulted over Merzlikins and he wasn't hurt. So I guess that was a cool move. So that was really nice of the game. But lots of good video and pictures of that. But otherwise, maybe one of the most embarrassing second periods of Kraken history. And I feel like the team deserved to lose this one, unfortunately.
The highlight of the game for me was John and Eddie's commentary for the entire game. Other than that, this game was an absolute crapshoot. Kind of what Heather said, positive start to the game, and it just spiraled out of control and exploded. Kraken deserved to lose this game. Like it was bad. Bad news bears. Actually pulling grew at that point, like it's a mercy pull. Defense were just nowhere to be seen. Offense just disappeared. Can't do much when your team is just gone. And Grubauer has had games where they're bad, but at these are the type of games where you're like, Buddy's doing as much as he can to keep this team in it, and there's just no player that's even willing to even give it a shot. Like players were left wide open in front of Grubauer. He can make the initial save, but if nobody's actually willing to pick up a man, then forget about it. And this has just been a continuation of issues that we have been highlighting since the start of the season. They're not going to fix it in game 1. They're sure as hell not going to fix it in game 42. So yeah, Kraken deserve to lose this game fully and get a big fat L.
I will say, with a game that we're going to recap, the one from today, as of recording, it seems like a good strategy if we want the first overall pick to just start Gru, have him play like half the game, and then pull him, because that's what happened.
Half the game's generous today.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's very true. But
half a period, maybe.
Yeah, that's more like
4
it,
shots.
Okay, but anyway, I agree. The Kraken did start out hot in this one, and then I really liked the response goal from Tolvanen. That reminded me of like the playoff year Tolvi where he's sniping the top right. It was like the exact same spot, which is awesome. Yep. Expected goals here, okay? You got to live and die by the expected goals, in my opinion. 2.7 to 2.1 Columbus. Grubauer just, I mean, okay, like the first goal and the third goal are like fine.
Yeah.
The fourth and fifth goal are just like, what are you doing? Like, this is not NHL. We're riding our horse off into the sunset again, which is where he'll be next year, unfortunately. Absolutely awful. But yeah, great for getting the first overall pick, which is what we're focused on right now. So I love that. That's a nice positive.
You're not horsing around.
You know what? Maybe if Daniel Sprong wants a place on this team, you should go out and buy some secondhand goalie pads. Just to give him a shot. Try it out. See how it works. My happy moment, because remember, we're the positive Kraken related podcast around here. Yeah, I know.
And I got it.
Cool.
Eddie and John.
First overall pick.
See?
First overall pick. Happy
We're
moment.
all positive here, Matt.
I didn't say we weren't. I was just saying that I was trying to be, okay? Personal goals for myself. I couldn't watch this game, but I listened to the radio broadcast of it, and I'm really happy for Eeli Tolvanen because one of the things they said in the pregame was he was on the longest scoring drought other than Josh Mahura, who hasn't scored yet. So I was like, okay, sweet, he's due. In like hindsight, I should have said he's due. Let's get him on my Sasquatch pick for this week, but I didn't. But getting 2 goals for him was really good. So small victories. And that leads us into a big victory in Game 43 when we rolled over to the Buffalo Sabres. No Office fans for Sabres. All right, Game 43 against the Buffalo Sabres, where we had a 6-2 win. Scoring opened at 2:37 of the first period when Buffalo's Sam Lafferty had his shot tipped by Vince Dunn, and it snuck by an unprepared Joey Daccord. It's just an unfortunate one there. Nothing really you can do about that one. The Sabres then extended their lead at the end of the period following a Matty Beniers high-sticking penalty when Jack Quinn deflected in a shot off of Joey's blocker. Tempers then flared after Oliver Bjorkstrand laid a hit on Dennis Gilbert. Gilbert took exception to this hit and dropped the gloves to start a fight with Ollie. Bjorky, clearly not a fighter, according to like hockey fighting database or some website I saw. This is only his 3rd NHL fight, and dude just seemed to be holding on for dear life. He was getting schoolyard bullied against the boards and thrown around and fed a couple sandwiches, but he eventually went down and headed off to the box. The Tempers continued to blow up in the second period when Brandon Tanev took a hit along the boards from Rasmus Dahlin, and a scuffle broke out. Ty Karchev, you gotta love him. He came in to save the day, but that resulted in him heading off to the penalty box. The Kraken finally got on the board midway through the second period, courtesy of Riker Evans, the Connor McDavid of the Seattle Kraken. Never forget that brief stretch where he had more points on the season than Connor McDavid did. Monty battled for the puck in the corner, got it up to Stevenson in the circle, who sent it across to Garth and in. That assist has Stevenson, at least up to this point, had him on a 5-game point streak, and we are the foremost Chandler Stevenson defender podcast out there. So we love Stevie getting points. Andre Burakovsky ties things up in the closing minute of the second period with a net front follow-up to a Josh Mahura slap shot. And then beat him up Bjorky gives the Kraken a lead early in the third with a little net front hack and whack. Less than a minute later, it is very rare that we have these tight windows of goal scoring because we are usually on the receiving end of that. Jaden Schwartz hit a streaking Josh Mahura. Muzzy dropped it back to Kako, who at the blue line wristed it into the back of the net. And the newest squid wasn't done there because Kako took a net front pass from Jared McCann, put it in the net, and it is 5-2 to the Kraken. Buffalo pulled the goalie with over 4 minutes left. Jared McCann got control of it, sent it to Turbo, and he went down the ice for the empty net goal to seal the deal. One highlight that I want to pick from this that I notice is I'm really liking what Mr. Josh Mahura is doing. I think that now that he's out of the press box and getting regular minutes, he's really starting to gel and mesh. So just another benefit in addition to the one I know someone's gonna talk about soon, of that Will Borgen trade and Kako coming in is Josh Mahura getting more minutes on the ice.
Yeah, even Eddie Olczyk keeps praising Josh Mahura, which has been fun because I do think now that he's regularly playing, it has been really great for his game. And him paired with Riker Evans has also been really good. Like I think the two are a great pair. So really like that. The first period of this game was like so beyond awful though. Like why should we go down to a team like the Sabres? Like terrible. But I will say, looking at intermission, they were talking about how the Sabres come out really strong and then they go downhill in the next two periods. So I guess we really did experience that. So that worked in our favor because we were able to kind of take advantage of their downswing in that. But the cool stat here is Capo Caco scored twice in a span of 1 minute and 40 seconds. And those are the fastest two goals scored by a single player in Kraken history. The previous record holder was Jaden Schwartz, who scored 2 goals in 2 minutes and 4 seconds. And that was February 12th, 2023. So good for Capo. Like I think he was just a great addition for us. Like he's really, I mean, he's such a big forward and he's really making a difference on the ice. So I'm thrilled to see him not only just start to like gel and he's on the power play. I just really like to see him get on the score sheet too. So like him, I like him flying in to defend players too. He barely knows these guys and he's going in to stand up for them. So I'm really thrilled with him coming on being a part of the team.
And just to continue with Kako, so in 11 games with Seattle this year, since the trade, he's got 3 goals and 5 assists for 8 points. So when he was with the Rangers, he played in 30 games and 4 goals, 10 assists for 14 points. So he's doing something right with the Kraken, which is great. So that's a positive thing to look at. And you hope that he just keeps developing and scoring like this. He's still young, so he's got if he can get his line mates and like that line between him, Matty, and Schwartz seems to really be clicking. So that's a positive there. I actually missed this game. I was out and about, so I actually had to watch the replay today. But yeah, that first period was woeful. Second period and third period, they really came alive, and I didn't really know what I was watching because this is never the Kraken. So it was a very joyful game to watch because I didn't know what I was expecting to come into later in the day.
Yeah, it might be one of those stopped clock is right twice a day type things with the Kraken. But no, really awesome to see Kako, living up to a lot of what we, I guess, are already starting to expect from him, just with his ceiling. And I think it really goes to show like his ceiling. I think it's a lot higher than even what he's performing at right now, and which makes it just an absolute no-brainer to swap with Borgen on the last year of his deal. So glad that we're seeing that. And yeah, so I'll just quickly take us into the game today, Sunday, against the Red Wings. It was game 44. And if you didn't get to see this one, no problem, because it was awful. It was just horrible. I'm going to give you the order in which the goals were scored. It was a 6-2 game. So the Red Wings scored, then 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 the Kraken scored, then the Kraken scored. So we waited until it was 6-0 to get 2 goals, which is awesome. I love that. And I'm going to give you the timestamps of the first 3 goals because it matters. So the first one was at 16:38 left in the first. The second one was at 16:27 left in the first. And the third one was at 13:44 left in the first. Guess which goaltender started this game? That should be a game that we play.
Daniel Sprong.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was Philip Grubauer, the $6 million man, who allowed 3 goals on 4 shots, as Alex mentioned earlier, and posted a save percentage of 250, which is awesome. We love that. Like I said, getting us to that first overall pick, Philly Grewsteak is doing a lot for us on his way out. I mean, what can I say? Absolute horrors, tragedy. But Benir's got a goal. Bjorkstrand got a goal. Kako assisted Benir's goal. That's okay. My favorite part of today's game, Benir's goal, Kako's 8th point, and his 5th assist, as Alex mentioned. And the fact that we waited until it was 6-0 to score. Another thing is that our very own Matt got a Sasquatch point. So yeah, we love that. That's good. Yeah. Anyone have anything to say about this? Oh, also, sorry. This is huge. The expected goals in this game were 2.3 to 2.3. Just let that sink in.
So this was Matty Benier's 50th career goal, and that made him the first player who started his NHL career with the Kraken to score 50 goals. So that's cool. Good for Matty. Happy for that. But
oh yeah, didn't you bring that up right before today's game?
I did.
That is amazing.
I did.
Amazing foresight.
Right? I thought, oh, maybe he'll hit that. No, I did not know that. But cool. I don't know. I think what bothers me, aside from the terrible game, was their responses afterwards, like in the interview, like Matty Benier saying, we didn't come out to play. And Jaden Schwartz and Adam Larson both saying the team wasn't ready. But like, why? Why are you not ready? Why are you not coming out to play? I don't understand that. How can you say that? Like, how can you come out and just admit that? I don't understand. So I don't get it. The other thing, Emerald City Hockey said, far from the Kraken's biggest issue, but in a game that was lost 8 minutes in, why didn't Shane Wright get more than 1450 ice time? It's not poor play. He was only out for 1 goal against, and his line had 54% of shot quality. Eventually, you're going to have to take the training wheels off. I know, Alex, you wrote this down too, because like, why not put him in for more time and let him develop more and get more ice time? I don't get why you're not doing that. And I'm worried that they don't have the like desire to build up these players at the NHL level once they get there. And that's disturbing to me as well. So those are my takes on the game.
So I'm going to take my slim silver lining of getting a Sasquatch point. Shout out to Mike for running that every single game. It's one of my favorite things to try to make a prediction for, and I'm doing pretty good. So sometimes I know what I'm talking about, or just make a lucky pick. You can choose where you think that's going to fall. Uh, I watched the first probably half of this game, and then I said, screw this, I'm gonna go get a massage. And I left to go get nice and relaxed and enjoy my Sunday afternoon. Uh, a highlight for me was running the BTW Twitter for the start of the game, and we got 2 goals scored against us. And I said, well, you can't be the team with the most multi-point comebacks if you don't start down 2-0. And then a minute later, quote tweeting that and saying, well, you can't be if it's down 3-0. And then 4 minutes later, well, you can't be unless it's 4-0. And just like, man, this was rough. This was hot garbage, not feeling good. Really glad for Bjorky, really glad for Maddie. Good job to them. This is an audio format, but I am wearing an S-based sports apparel shirt that is not a logo for the Seattle Kraken, because I have already moved on to cheering for the Saskatchewan Roughriders in the CFL season, which doesn't start until July 1st. So we're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie. That's what we're gonna say to the Kraken. You're doing great, sweetie.
Where do I begin? Like, where do I begin? This team. I think I literally tweeted, this team sucks. And I've already said this team sucks before in this podcast, but like, where do you go from like a game like this? Like,
Back to the expansion draft. Got to go all the
no,
way
no,
back.
but I don't even know if you could do that, because like you got Ryan Francis at the helm and he's going to choose like, freaking Jeremy Lozano over again. So, got that going for us. But honestly, like, Grubauer just letting in 3 waffles out of 4 shots is just, it's a sad sandwich. Not only are you rocking a 250 save percentage, but your goals against average expectation was 30. Like, that is the same number that Derek deems a player old. Like, that's where we're at today. Like, that's how bad the first, 10 minutes of the game went. Like, I was building a shelf being like, oh, they're playing the Detroit Red Wings. Like, oh, it's not going to be too bad. I'll, watch the game, 10 minutes in. It won't be too bad. Nope. 4-0. Still decided to turn it on just because I like pain, apparently. But, where do you go from this? Like, what kind of a statement? Because the players aren't going to say anything. As Heather pointed out, oh, we didn't get pucks deep. Oh, we didn't get the shot quality. Like, shut up. Like, I'm sorry. Oh, we weren't prepared. Like, buddy, if
Hey,
I showed up, no,
you know who would give you a candid answer? Daniel
Daniel
Sprong, if he was
Sprong.
yeah,
here.
Daniel Sprong. But you know what? I just want to say, like, if I showed up tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening, and I showed up for like 2 out of the possible 7.5 hours I'm supposed to work, and it was like, oh, I didn't want to show up. We just didn't show up. Like, I'd be fired.
Dude,
I'd
that's
be
me with
fired.
teaching
So
daily,
like, so like,
phoning it in.
I'm done with the excuses. Like, find a backbone or like do something to be like, okay, we're getting paid millions of dollars or even like almost close to $1 million and show up. You have hundreds of thousands of fans that pay stupid prices to go watch you play hockey, a freaking sport. And this is the type of performance you show up and, and do game in, game out. Let's not to mention that Seattle didn't win a freaking Saturday home game all of last season. So like this isn't new. We've seen this for years, it seems like. Like there needs to be something that needs to be done. And I just don't know what it is anymore because like no one's positive going into the next game. Like it's not a hey, it's a Kraken game day. It's a I regret to inform you the Kraken are playing tonight. And that's the mood now. So I got nothing. I had something, but I got nothing else to really say because at this rate, we might as well look at our AHL team because they're actually a little bit more exciting. So, we're going to dive into the Desert Dialogues. And first game, Sunday, January 5th, versus the San Diego Gulls in a 3-2 overtime dub. Firebirds came out swinging, scoring the first 2 goals of the game. Mitchell Stevens, who actually plays for the Kraken now, scored at 14:20 into the first. Billy Ottavainen and Nick Broyard had the assist. Then Yager, the Circus Furcus, received a sweet pass from Stevens and was able to hit the back of the net and put the Firebirds up by 2. Broyard had the secondary assist. And side note, I actually really like Nick Broyard. He is an AHL player. Like he's always been a journeyman there, but he's been fantastic with the Firebirds this season. With no goals in the second, the teams were tied until the last 5 minutes of regulation. The Gulls were able to score twice in just 57 seconds. So the Firebirds, they do have some Kraken tendencies from time to time. The game was tied and it was off to overtime. In the first minute of OT, San Diego had a too many men penalty, which put Coachella on the power play. And we do love some PP overtime play there. So from the right circle, Yanni Neiman just launched an absolute bullet to beat the Gulls goaltender and win the game for the Firebirds. Side note, Yanni Neiman will be a Seattle Kraken this season. It's only a matter of time. He is proving that he is valuable and he is just absolutely lethal, and he's been proving his point with the Firebirds. But Brouillard and Logan Morrison were the assists on the overtime winner. This is the 5th straight game that Coachella had a power play goal. They're also 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, and it was Jack LaFontaine's first win of the season since he was up from the KC Mavericks. So lots of positive.
And that next game was Wednesday, January 8th against the Tucson Roadrunners. Unfortunately, it was a 1-4 loss. Kind of the opposite of the previous game. The Roadrunners scored the first 2 goals of this one. One of those was a 5-on-3 power play goal when both Ryan Winterton and Logan Morrison were in the box. But at 15:06 in the first, Brandon Bureau set up Yanni Newman for a one-timer in the slot. And this was also a 5-on-3 power play goal. So I love the AHL because there's so many times when things like that happen. They basically just traded 5-on-3 power play goals. Unfortunately, that was the one and only goal for Coachella in this game. The Roadrunners scored once more in the first and then almost had another one when Kyler Yamamoto, we know that name, he was awarded a penalty shot, but luckily Alex Steska was able to make a beautiful kick save to keep the game 3-1. But Tucson hit the empty net in the third to win the game 4-1. There was a lot of penalties in this one, but honestly, it was by both teams, so I don't even fault the Firebirds there. And trading those 5-on-3 power play goals is strange, but also fun. Just not Coachella's night, but I think they're really happy to have Steska back from the Kraken, so they can kind of get back into that goalie tandem again with Coco as well.
The following game was on Saturday, January the 11th against the Chicago Wolves in a 5-2 win. It was Pride Night in the Valley, and if you haven't seen those Pride jerseys, they are so sweet. They're solid. They did an incredible job on them. And they get to wear them during warm-ups too. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, NHL, stabby, stabby. Chicago kicked off scoring with a goal at 4:39 into the first, and the Firebirds went into intermission down 1-0. At 3:30 into the second period, Coachella was able to tie it up On the odd man rush, Ben Myers was able to get the puck to Daniel Sprong, AHL legend, and who was net front and tapped it home. Leighton Road had the secondary assist on the goal. Side note, Leighton Road, I can actually see him being in the NHL this season. He's been lights out for the Firebirds as well. 150 later, Chicago had a response goal, and it was 2-1 Wolves, but the Firebirds were able to tie it up at 15:50 in the second when Road drove the net. Sprong and Logan Morrison were the assist for Rhodes' ninth goal of the season. 36 seconds into the third, the Firebirds took the lead. Another odd man rush had Rode finding Sprong, who cleanly beat the Wolves goaltender. It's funny how Sprong really sprung into action there. Sorry. 4:36 into the third, the Firebirds went on the power play, and Yanni Neiman was able to extend the lead to 4-2. This was Yanni Neiman's 13th goal of the season. Ben Meyer and Logan Morrison were the two assists on that power play goal. And then Brandon Biro was able to give the Firebirds a 3-goal lead at 15:20 into the third, and it was unassisted on a breakaway. With that, the final score was 5-2. Firebirds were again 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. They now have 6 points in their last 7 games and 4 wins out of their last 5. With Neiman's power play goal, that extended their power play goal streak to 7 straight games. And the Firebirds had 22 shots in the second period, which is the most shots on goal in a single period in team history. So they showed up and they were ready to party.
What do you know? They showed up and they were ready to play a game.
Shocking.
Then the last game for this week actually just happened. It just ended a bit ago, but it was today, Sunday, January 12th versus the Chicago Wolves. This was a 5-2 win. Jacob Melanson was back for this game, which is really exciting because he's been out with an injury since early in November. So really, really great to see him back out there. He was making some really great strides before then, so I'm happy to see him back. The Wolves kept scoring again in this one. They took a 1-0 lead at 9:42 into the game, but during a fortuitous power play, Logan Morrison was able to tie the game. He was net front to receive a pass from Brandon Biro. Nick Brouillard had the secondary assist on that one when he got the puck over to Biro. The teams went into first intermission tied 1-1, but the Wolves were quick to take the lead, just 2:14 into the second, making the score 2-1. Don't worry, though, Firebird fans. At 7:35 into the second, Brandon Biro tied it up. Again, another beautiful right place, right time kind of a goal as he was net front to collect a rebound off of a shot by Edward Chalet. And then 1 minute later, Daniel Sprong gave the Firebirds a 3-2 lead. He really just hammered a great shot to the net, got it past the Wolves goalie. Leighton Road and Ryan Jones were the assist on that one. And the Firebirds went into the third period with a 3-2 lead. At 4:40 into the third, Ben Myers gave the Firebirds a 2-goal lead with a power play goal. Logan Morrison and Brandon Biro had the assists on that one, and then Leighton Road was able to increase the Firebirds' leads to 5-2 with a shorthanded goal at 11:55 into the third. And a fun little fact on this one is that Nicky Coco had the assist, so that is a goalie assist and his first AHL point. So yay for Coco. The Firebirds held on to that 5-2 lead to win 5-2. Top Firebirds this week. We have Ben Myers and Yanni Newman, each with 21 points. Myers in 26 games played, and Newman with 33 games played. Jagger Furcus has 20 points in 33 games played, and Ryan Winterton has 19 points in 25 games played. And if you want to catch the Firebirds this week, they play Thursday, January 16th versus the Henderson Silver Knights, Saturday, January 18th at the Colorado Eagles, and then Saturday, January 19th, again at the Colorado Eagles.
Some AHL standings. Coachella is currently sitting in 4th in the Pacific Division with 41 points in their 35 games played. The margin is definitely narrowing, though. The Calgary Wranglers still sit atop the division with 47 points in 36 games played, and then the Barracuda are in second with 43 points in 34 games played, and the Colorado Eagles have 41 points in 32 games played. It is a tight division, so it's not set in stone. Anything could really happen. You get a team that hits a hot streak, could vastly change the outcome of how this division ends. And then if Daniel Sprong remains with the Firebirds for a long time, you never know what's going to happen. He can be an AHL star. Never know. That could be something to keep an eye out on.
And as Alex alluded to earlier, the Kraken have played their 41st game of the year, meaning they are over now halfway through their season. And we would like to take some time to go back, rewind the clock to our time capsules that we logged and dug and buried into the earth before the season started. So we're gonna unearth them really quick, take a little peek, and then put them back down. So our first category of the year was first goal, and obviously this has been determined already. Heather's prediction was Shane Wright. Matt's prediction, Channy Steves. Alex's prediction, Brandon Montour. And my prediction was Ellie Tolvanen. It ended up being Vince Dunn, so nobody wins. Sorry about that, gang. Second category was most goals. Heather guessed Beniers, who's currently at 7. Matt guessed McCann, who's currently at 13. Alex guessed Bjorky, who's currently at 12. And I also guessed McCann, who's currently at 13. Just a little note, I guessed McCann first, so Matt was copying me, not the other way around. Currently, we sit with McCann and Schwartz both having 13, so me and Matt looking good there. Alex is definitely close, though. I don't think Heather's going to get it. But the third category is most points. Heather said Bjorky with 20, or who currently has 27. Matt said Montour, who currently has 23. Alex said McCann, who currently has 32, and I said Vince Dunn, who currently has 18. The injury bug really got me there, but currently it is McCann with 32. So Alex is looking really good there. Definitely Heather can catch up, and I mean Matt definitely can too. Unless Vince Dunn goes on an absolute tear, I think I'm probably out of this one though. The fourth category is the most belts, which we thought actually were going to be Davy Jones hats again, but unfortunately are the WWE belts. Heather guessed Joey, who currently has 1. Matt guessed Shane Wright, who currently has 1. Alex guessed Dunn, who currently has 3. And I guessed McCann, who currently has 0. Right now it is Dunn with 3. That is first. But I just want to say that this hat, belt, whatever you want to call it, the belt thing, it's like this, it's like a charity giveaway. It's like, okay, Vince, you were hurt. Here's the hat, or here's the belt. Okay, Tanev, oh, you scored a goal. Here's the belt. Oh, Alexiak, you never get any love. Here's the belt. It's not like McCann, you're leading in points. You're doing great night in, night out. Let's give you the belt every night, which is how I was conceptualizing it.
Yeah, it was like last night. I think Maddie had it. He said, Kako, really good. 2 goals and assists tonight. That's awesome. But you know what?
What?
Berkey's been working really hard. Here you go, Berkey. And it's like, what are
Yeah,
you doing?
exactly.
Spronger, you've been in the AHL. You deserve it too.
Yeah,
Just take
we'll
it.
FedEx it down to you. Just
And
send it back.
Sprung never gives it to anybody else. He keeps it with the next team he's at.
It's like
I
I had
give
to
it to
slow
myself.
it. He's like, I had to slow it
I had to
down, so
slow
I thought
down.
I'd just keep it.
And our fifth category is our bold take for the season. So Heather's was that, or actually, Heather, do you want to say what your bold take was?
Yeah, my bold take is Joey getting a goalie goal, and guess what? There's still plenty of time for that to happen.
And in fact, that is the
That's
only
the only one.
that's the only bold take that still really has time to happen. Because Matt, what was your bold take?
My bold take was Burakovsky plays 80 out of 82 games. He is currently at 79 or possible 79 games. He's missed 3 games. But I will say, one of those games was due to an upset tummy. He was sick. 2 of those games, he got the press box treatment. So he has
I
not
don't-
been. He has not
but
been.
you didn't specify.
I
don't
am
think
not
You did
saying
not
that I
specify.
did.
Scratches should
I'm
not
not
count.
saying that I did. I'm just saying he has not missed games because he's been hurt, which is what the
Yeah.
problem's been in the past.
Honest, yeah, you added that as context with your prediction, I remember. So I honestly, the healthy scratches shouldn't really count against you.
No,
But Alex,
it's
what were you gonna
dead.
say?
It's dead to me.
No, he did not quantify that.
Yeah, I went back and watched the footage.
All right, and Alex, you want to tell the folks what your bold take was?
Dan Bilesma, Jack Adams Award. There's still a chance. Miraculous recovery.
That take.
If the Kraken make the playoffs, I think Bilesma should get the Jack.
He's going to
Adams
go on a
Award, 'cause-
39 game win streak.
Yeah, 'cause that
Absolute
would be
heater.
insane.
Boy, was I wrong.
But you
Well,
weren't
I
the
wasn't
most
wrong
wrong,
at all.
I'd say.
I wasn't wrong at all, to be honest.
No, not at all. Mr.
yeah.
250.
Yeah, my bold take was that it wasn't see, I'm pretty sure Matt wrote this. He said that my bold take was Grew #1, but that really was not my bold take. My bold take was Joey would fall off a cliff and Grubauer would be the clear 1A goalie.
Where
1A.
were you wrong?
Neither of those things happened. Thank you very much.
Actually,
Someone did the Uno reverse card on that.
Yeah,
Actually-
Joey got the bag and is just cooking right now.
Mhm.
yeah.
And
Uh,
Grew
if
is
you do-
cooked.
If you do
Drew's
want to
getting
give,
trampled.
if you want to throw me a bone,
Nope.
Grubauer is the starter every game because we're trying to get the first overall pick and we're trying to lose. So
It's getting
I'm
pulled.
kind of right.
Here's your
Old
here's your
twice.
participation trophy.
In 1 week.
So yeah, obviously the only one out of those that can still happen is the Joey goal. realistically. And then our sixth and final category is our prediction for the season, the total season points for the Kraken. So Heather predicted 92. Matt predicted 94. I predicted 95. Okay. Alex, what did you predict?
76.
You hater. You absolute hater. But honestly, Alex, I'm not going to call you a hater because we are currently projected before today's game to hit 78.8. And after today's brutal loss to the Red Wings, that might go down even further. How are you feeling right now?
I'm just feeling like a realist, to be honest. I know everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna get 90 points," and I'm like, "Have you seen this team? Like they added Brandon Montour and Chandler Stevenson. Like it's not like we're adding like Connor McDavid." Um, I hate the fact that I actually have a realistic chance of actually hitting the accurate amount of points we're gonna like get this season. It's ultimately depressing. Like
Well, I
it
think all of
really
us do, right?
is. Yeah, like it's depressing.
Mhm.
Like I hate to shoot so low, but in reality, it's like a just a realistic expectation of what we have on the ice. So,
I
But
mean,
dude,
I
if
think
we
all
if
of
we
our predictions
score,
are plausible so far, right? Yeah.
yeah, like if we score if
so
we end the season with 77 points, we're gonna celebrate like we won the cup.
you're
Oh,
telling me
yeah, we
there's a
will.
chance?
Don't you dare.
Oh, we were so optimistic back then.
Three of the four of you were.
Yeah, three of us are back down now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dated.
we'll be more realistic next year.
Hey, 2.2% chance.
Today,
Before the Red
yeah,
Wing
Yeah.
point six
disaster.
tomorrow morning. All right, well, we're gonna go bury that back in my backyard, and we're gonna round things out here with the sound table. A weekly recap of all things outside of the Seattle Kraken organization, starting with sound table topic number one. Next season's outdoor games are heading to Florida. It was announced on Wednesday that the 2026 Winter Classic would be held at Lone Depot Park in Miami, and a game between the Florida Panthers and the New York Rangers on January 2nd. The NHL also announced that its Stadium Series game will be on February 1st at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa, seeing the Lightning go up against the Bruins. Alex, you had an amazing tweet that absolutely blew up of people playing hockey in a bunch of puddles, because I'm not a meteorologist by any chance, but I have taught fifth grade science. And when we talk about weather, the further south you get, the warmer it gets. So I'm just curious what these ice conditions are going to be like.
I'm gonna talk to the Kingston Frontenacs local arena because they currently play at Slush Puppy Place because I'm pretty sure they can rent that name out to the 2026 Winter Classic because they're gonna be playing in slush. I know we're talking about growing the game, and I respect the fact that growing the game is great, but Florida outside to play hockey, it just doesn't like you can't add two and two. Like just throw it in like some wild place. Like, hey, we're going to Alaska. We're gonna play in Anchorage, Alaska. Like, there's no NHL team, but like let's just have some fun up there. Like
Hey, we
that
had
would
a
be
Stadium
cool.
Series game in Regina a couple
That's
years
what
ago.
that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, build the game. Like, get people like fired up about it. But like hockey's a winter sport. Like I don't like you could literally be like, hey, I'm gonna go watch the Winter Classic and then go sit on the beach after when the game's over. Like I don't know about you, but like I've seen like there's been games in the past where it's just like it's minus 30 out and I really can't think anymore. But hey, the beer's great and the game's on. This is fantastic. Like send it somewhere cold. Like or like just send it somewhere that like that just send it somewhere that's just not weird. Florida just
All
seems
right.
like a terrible idea in my opinion.
All right. These Canadians with their, oh, Wayne Gretzky on the pond in the backyard, -30.
I
Ooh.
literally brought up Alaska as an option. That's not
No,
You
Canada the
know,
come
last time I
on.
checked.
I
Come
have to say
on.
though, like our Winter
Go north.
Classic, it was very temperate and very mild.
But
So
it still worked though. It still
yeah,
worked.
I will say Florida does sometimes get chilly. I mean, it could be near
Oh,
freezing at
sometimes you have to put on a
times.
light sweater. Oh no.
Oh
Sometimes
no.
It would be
sometimes it does
sick.
get cold.
I think it would be
That
so cool to have like a tropical day with like a sheet of ice out on the field. That would be so sick. And it's not like the 1800s. It's like science. They use like ammonia and like gas and stuff underneath to keep it cold. It doesn't need to be like that's how we're able to have like heaters inside of NHL stadiums. Like it doesn't. I think it's cool. And there's two. What are there? Two NHL teams in Florida. I think this makes sense.
I'm just picturing now like 1800s hockey, like trying to figure out ice, be like, hey, Jebediah, the ice is melting.
All right, moving along. Sound table topic number two. We love a teddy bear toss here at Beneath the Waves. During last Sunday's game between the Hershey Bears and the Providence Bruins, the Hershey crowd set a world record for most thrown on a teddy bear toss game. The fans in attendance threw 102,343 stuffed animals onto the ice. And if you haven't seen the clips of it, of people just swan diving into piles of stuffed animals, it just looks like an absolutely delightful time. All right, next up, Sound Table Talk number three. The PWHL Takeover Tour continued this week with stops in Vancouver and in Denver. Vancouver's game drew an attendance of 19,038 fans, which is higher than any Canucks home game so far this season. Thought that was a fun statistic. Sunday's game in Denver brought out 14,018 fans, setting a U.S. attendance record for a professional women's hockey game, and you just absolutely love to see it.
Yes, very excited for this. Just shows that everyone watches women's sports. So like let's expand the PWHL. Let's do it. It's time. We're ready. Let's do it.
I don't know if anybody saw the video, but the chanting in Denver was, we want a team, we want a
Hmm.
team. And I was
Hmm.
like, yeah, I'm fired up about this. Like,
Yeah.
get those teams out there.
Yeah.
All right, next up on the sound table, it's milestone time. Congratulations to Sidney Crosby. In Tuesday night's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Penguins captain recorded his 15,183rd faceoff win and counting, becoming the all-time leader in faceoff wins, passing Patrice Bergeron. But Sid the Kid was not done there because on Thursday he moved into ninth place on the NHL's all-time points list, passing Joe Sakic at 1,642. Those are
Yeah.
some big numbers.
So you're telling me that Joey Decord only has to win 15,184 faceoffs to be the all-time faceoff king.
Yep.
Yep.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Stop. Please stop. Please, I beg of you. Next up on the sound table, another milestone. Congrats to Winnipeg Jets goaltender Connor Hellebuck, who reached 300 career wins. By achieving this win in his 538th game, he became the third fastest goalie to achieve this milestone, behind Jacques Plante and Andrei Vasilevsky. Again, always cool highlighting milestones around these parts, even if they're from Winnipeg. Yuck. And lastly, we can finally return to this sound table topic, our final topic of the week. It is Ovi Record Watch. Alexander Ovechkin now sits at 873 goals, only 21 away from Wayne Gretzky's record of 894. He needs to get these goals in 33 games to do it faster than the great one. And also, with his most recent goal, Ovi joined Gordie Howe as the only two NHL players with 20 plus goals in 20 consecutive seasons. Which, again, that just seems like a pretty wild, mind-blowing stat.
I say he does it. Like, I say he breaks both records. Like, he's getting 21 goals in before 33 games. Like, the pace that he's on for the age that he's at, it's absolutely wild to witness.
And the dude broke his leg like 7 weeks ago.
It's
Yeah.
just it's unheard of. Like, just
He's a
pure
freak.
athlete. Yeah.
And Heather, do you want to take us into a preview of the week ahead?
Do I have to? Just kidding. Kraken play on Tuesday, January 14th at the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is a 4 p.m. start, and we are streaming this one. So come hang out with us on YouTube, chat with us, keep us company because we really need it right now. We need your good vibes and all of your great comments. So please come hang out with us. It's an away game, perfect timing to do that. And Matt, you had something to make this game a little more interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to put out good karma and good vibes to get good results from the Kraken. So we were supposed to stream last week, and thank you to you guys for being flexible and pulling that one away. My wife and I had to put down our pet of the last 10 years. It was just an emotional roller coaster in our house. And thanks to folks on the Twitters who were sending out, oh, hope everything's good, well wishes. So what I'm gonna do for this game is we're gonna try to manifest good things from the Kraken to equate to money for the Humane Society where we got our pet from. So here's how it's going to lay out. Every shot on goal, I'm going to put up $1. So like we shoot 40 shots, that's $40. That's not unachievable, Seattle Kraken. Come on. Every goal that's $5. If we get a fight, please, if we get a fight, that would just be exciting. And maybe not Bjorky though, because he got ragdolled and that wasn't great. Fights, $10. If whoever's in goal, please, Joey Decord, start this so this can happen. $20 for a shutout. And what I'm going to lay out to each of you is you each get to pick one anytime goal scorer, and if that hits, it'll be $10 added into my pot. So you have between now and Tuesday to choose who you think is going to score in that game. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, we can put some good vibes out for good causes. And Seattle Kraken, one of you has to have this playing in your ears right now within that organization. Make me spend a lot of money. Please and thank you.
Just one more thing, not to overshadow that because that's amazing, but also because the US won the World Juniors and Canada was knocked out. We had a bet going and I created Zoom backgrounds for our two Canadian hosts here. And Tuesday's game when we're streaming is when you will get to see those beauties that I've come up with. So just another plug to make sure you come and enjoy watching that game with us because they are just really fantastic and I'm so excited. Then the Kraken play on Thursday, January 16th at the Winnipeg Jets. That's a 5 p.m. Pacific time start. And they are back home on Saturday, January 18th versus the Los Angeles Kings. And this is a 7 p.m. start.
All right. And Derek, there's a feisty one today. And I'm excited to see what you have prepared to bring us out of here for this week. When you let people know where they can find us this week.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube, and please drop a follow or a subscribe or a like or whatever, and leave a 5-star review on whatever whatever apparatus you're using to listen to us talk. And then check out the store, bit.ly/BTW store. And yeah, so we've been talking a lot today about the draft, and the Kraken actually have the first overall selection in the 2025 NHL draft. And with the first overall pick in the 2025 NHL draft, the Seattle Kraken select BTW SEA, defenseman, Seattle. That's where we're located, not Canada, so get wrecked.
Right.
But yeah, BTW SEA, go follow it everywhere. And yeah, thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
We going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.